Welcome to the Fast Leader Podcast, where we uncover the leadership life hacks that help you to experience breakout performance faster and rocket to success. And now, here's your host, customer and employee engagement expert, and certified emotional intelligence practitioner, Jim Rimbaugh.
Need a powerful and entertaining way to ignite your next conference, retreat, or team building session? My keynotes don't include magic, but they do have the power to help your attendees take a leap forward by putting emotional intelligence into their employee engagement, and customer-centric leadership practices. So bring the infotainment creativity of the Fast Leader Show to your next event, and I'll help your attendees get over the hump now. Go to beyondmorale.com/speaking to learn more. Okay, Fast Leaders Legion, today I'm excited because we're going to have a guest on the show today who really can help us with something I think we all deal with. Ilene Marcus was born and raised in Farmingdale, Long Island, original suburbia. No farms on one side of the track where she grew up. She was the second of four daughters. Her father was a civil engineer and her mother was a teacher. Ilene had three sisters, but she was always in charge, bless their hearts. She had quite a history, and if someone told her their background, she would say, "You're a walking miracle." But Ilene herself has been through some tough times. She's been a rare cancer survivor, had an early joint replacement, was a 9/11 evacuee, survived abuse, betrayal, and has been a single mom with economic hardship. All have brought her to where she is today. She's proud that she reformed the New York City welfare system. She built a cadre of much better, authentic managers who built their teams and the business by having the hard conversations and taking the next step. Ilene is always in the camp of the underdog. She wanted her career, her life, her purpose to be about not just helping one person, but helping many. She's followed the proverbial path of helping people learn to fish, to eat for a long lifetime, instead of just feeding them fish. Besides her experiences in government, she's had experience in nonprofit, healthcare, startups, and product-driven small businesses. Currently, Ilene is the owner of Aligned Workplace. She specializes in organizational dynamics consulting to build efficiency, nimbleness, and teamwork. She's a city girl with a country heart. She splits time between New York City and the Berkshires, looking for the perfect combo of mountain, town, and cows. She's now thinking Seattle or Hilo, Hawaii. Ilene Marcus, are you ready to help us get over the hump?
I am ready to get over the hump.
I'm glad you're here. We've had some great off-mic conversations, so I'm really looking forward to our interview today. Now, I've given our listeners a little bit about you, but can you tell us what your current passion is so that we can get to know you even better?
My current passion is workplace conundrums. I love hearing people's problems, what they're fighting at work, what's getting in their way, and finding a solution to get through it.
Now, we had the opportunity to, talk about, something that we all have issues with and that you can help us with. And it really comes from you being the author of Managing Annoying People, 7 Proven Tactics to Maximize Team Performance. And the reality is, when I think about through my career of managing all kinds of different personalities, I've had some very annoying people that I've had to manage. And, reality is I've probably been that person too at sometimes. I always tell my kids when they're doing something about sports or whatever, and they're being that whiner, I'm like, don't be that guy. Don't be that guy, that everybody says the whiner. So for me, I don't want to be that guy that was the annoying one, but we are. And
yes, we are. And I'm glad you see that.
But there was one tactic in here of the 7, and I'm not going to read them all, and that's why everybody needs to buy the book, right? And again, it's Managing Annoying People. You have a link to it on the show notes page. But it's tactic number 3, which is set no fear boundaries. What does that mean?
It means that you have to know the line. As the leader, you have to actually separate yourself from the pack. It's your job to have the full 10,000-foot view of the organization, as well as each individual, for lack of a better word, cog in the wheel. No one else has that perspective, so you've got to be very vigilant about setting those boundaries. Sometimes I'd like to think about it from Dirty Dancing. This is my dance space. This is your dance space. Don't cross the line or there will be repercussions.
Well, and I think, a lot of times people talk about creating emotional connections and having empathy and authentic, being authentic with your leadership. And I think sometimes you could actually take it too far. And so to me, when I started, reading more about, what you mean by, set no fear boundaries, I started thinking about those in total context.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I think I have a mantra that goes with almost every tactic I say, which is say what you mean what you say, but don't say it meanly. It's not about don't ever come into my office after 5 or don't do this or don't do that. It's about This is my role. This is your role. Let me be clear about when I have time for you, I can't see you, or we can or cannot have a discussion at this point. That is what sets the boundaries.
Well, I mean, so for me, when you said that, and thanks that you did, is that we're really talking about expectation setting.
Absolutely.
And being proactive with it, not waiting to, it's too late to try to go back and recover and recoup and, then set a particular boundary.
That is one of my prime messages. Avoiding in an annoying situation is perilous to you and your organization. You must be proactive. I can, with 100% certainty right now, tell you someone is going to annoy you at work this week, this month, this year. It's going to happen. So the question is, how can I, as the leader, be ready and not react? So if I've set up the rules, the relationships, the boundaries, the expectation of the relationship, I'm going to have a much better shot at handling the annoyance and minimizing the time it drains from my business goals.
Now, also you had talked about, and it came at the very end, and it really wasn't part of, one of the 7 tactics, although I think the 7 tactics will definitely aid and assist with that. But we have annoying customers that we have to deal with as well. And again, hopefully I'm not that guy. I try not to be that guy, but I know I am sometimes. But how do these 7 tactics actually parlay and benefit that whole customer experience piece?
Well, we always say the customer is always right. If you forget rule number 1, look at rule number 2. The customer is always right, right? So right. But there's a cartoon at the front of each of my chapters. And on the customer cartoon, it says, the customer is always right. And underneath in small letters, it says, on the verge of making me lose my mind. Now, it's a double-edged sword. We need our customers. In some organizations, they're funders or they're board members. Setting expectations and setting boundaries is really important. I can think of so many expectations where I had employees that were doing what I call the pretzel, right? Twisting themselves into a left-handed, person that would be on this day at this time to meet a customer's expectation. That's not okay. Even with customers, we need to say, I want to please you. We need to be in constant communication, but there are boundaries that need to be set because there's an old rule, right? And we all know it. The more I twist myself into a pretzel, what happens? You know what happens, right? The more I twist myself into a pretzel and I can't move. So with customers, not as articulate an answer as I would have liked, to be straightforward is we must respect that we need them, but at the same time, slowly and surely set those boundaries, those expectations. And people actually enjoy hearing no sometimes. They're not happy about it, but they'd rather hear a no than I'll get back to you, I'll see, let me try. No, that's not going to work. Let's see what else we can come up with. Always a good solution.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting point too. And how you go about saying that no can be different for the different types of products and services that you offer, the different clientele that you're serving, and so maybe for you, the no is giving them alternative options that you can deliver upon.
Always. One of my mantras, there are always options, always options. You should never be put in a box. The no is about, well, what are you really trying to do? It should open up a whole conversation with your customer about, so what are you trying to achieve? Because let me see if I have a different product or a different solution, or we can brainstorm together. As a business, I want to bring more value to my customer. So if I can actually really understand what they're trying to get at, I can help them better, and they're going to see me more as a resource. So it's once again changing that relationship dynamic from you're the customer, you're buying from me, what can I give you, to how can I serve you, and what else are you looking for, and why do you want that, and how can I help you get that from me?
I think that's really important because what you've just done is talking about the opportunity to open up the door to collaboration with your client and your customer. And that's where, when they are absolutely part of their own solution, I mean, they're going to enjoy that experience more than if you were the one that was doing it on their behalf.
100%. And that's what builds a good business.
So that pride of ownership, and this is one of the things I get to talk about a lot with folks. When I went through university or college, whatever, I double majored in finance and real estate. A lot of people had the opportunity when they were finance majors that they could double major in finance and insurance, but I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to go down the insurance route. I thought, real estate and maybe someday having some properties, which I'm still working on, is something I can do. But one of the key concepts that I carried away from my real estate learning was just this pride of ownership concept. When we start talking about going down a street and looking at the different properties, we can actually just look at them and know which one's a rental property because it's just not kept up as nicely.
Absolutely. And, that is a theory in terms of all kind of community norms, right? Like broken windows theory. If you let a small thing happen, it changes and leads a gateway to a bigger thing. So pride of ownership in being involved in your work, in your home, in your community is very important to success.
So that pride of ownership, how could you actually use that in order to be able to have somebody that's working for you that is annoying become less annoying?
This is one of the things that I coach on continuously. And it is the concept that as the leader, you have an idea. How do you help your employees make that idea their idea, not your idea? How do you give them the tools, the resources, the direction, the rules, the boundaries to actually say, okay, I know we want to sell more whatever we're selling, widgets. I know this is the goal that we want to be in this market. How can I make that happen? What's my role? It's also pride of ownership and work with your employees. And then that turns around to pride and ownership with your customers. If the employees feel that they're part of the solution, it's their value, their goal, their mission, they're going to be a lot more bought in. And the customers feel that right away.
Definitely. And when we're talking about all of this ownership and, annoyance and all of those things, there's a lot of, passion and emotion that's tied up in that. And on the show, we actually look at quotes in order to help us focus our attention and our emotions in the right direction. Is there a quote that you can share that does that for you?
Perfect timing. My quote is, leadership is a righteous perk once you get management right. And what I mean by that is if you don't give your staff the tools, resources, direction, and rules to get done what they need to do, you have no right being a leader. You must meet the minimum requirements, and that works every time. Leadership is a righteous perk once you get management right.
Well, I think you bring up some really interesting points because a lot of people talk about what is the difference between management and leadership, right? And I think a lot of folks think that leadership is all about, the inspiration, the softer stuff, which I contend is actually hard stuff as well, because it does have financial impacts. But,
Yes.
you just described to me what is actually a blend.
It is. I think that, good managers are leaders and good leaders are managers. There is a lot of dialogue, and I have managed a lot of people who have been through a John Maxwell course or a certain course and say, I'm a leader now. And while those courses are excellent, that doesn't make you a leader because you read some case studies on inspiration. What makes you a leader is working with a team, having a vision, and having them own that vision so they do it beyond what you tell them to. That's really what a leader wants.
I think you bring up a good point. So for me, as someone who's a little bit more analytical minded, it's more about practical application and not theory.
I think it is. In this business world, although there is a lot now riding on thought leadership, even thought leaders have to back up what they're saying with practical applications. How do you put that into action? Whether it's mindfulness or intent, everything is about the integration between my vision and how do I put the pedal to the metal.
Well, and that's always been the knock about book doctors, right? Faculty and staff and, teachers and all of that is that, hey, all you're doing is teaching theory. Have you actually been, in the trenches and had your sleeves rolled up? Have you actually, applied what you're talking about? And that's always been the knock when it comes from, the world of academia converting to the business world.
Right. And I think now there are so many people like me that have been in the business world and then are trying to apply what we have. But even a lot of us, not me, of course, but a lot of us are divorced from that. I'm going to get ahead to one of your questions, but one of your questions is, what do you feel is one of your, best secrets to your success? And for me, it's I am always relevant in the trenches. And I don't use that word trenches lightly. I came from the trenches. My first job was putting the curve in a mascara brush on an assembly line. I worked in a factory. But that is really important. Wherever I go, and I enter now as a C-suite exec or a consultant, I am able to always connect with, everyone, the custodian, the front, the security guards, anyone. And that makes a really big difference. When you have your finger in the pulse and you really know how the rules and the guidance set up on the C-suite is trickling down, that's what really makes an organization work.
Without a doubt. So what you just talked about from an emotional intelligence competence perspective is called relatedness. Can you relate?
Yes.
Okay.
So important.
Very much so. So, and I think, you had mentioned something about your background and experiences and things like that. And, going from the front line and curving those brushes all the way to, helping to do some reform with, the New York City, social welfare system. But, you've had a lot of experiences along the way. And within those experiences, there's a lot of humps. Is there a time where you can share a story of when you had to get over the hump and what it meant for you?
Yeah, a big hump. I had to cross a picket line for the first time. That is a tough situation. I was a manager in a large bureaucracy. I had 10,000 people working for me. It was under the Giuliani administration. It was probably about 4 years or right before, maybe 3.5 years in. We had been working with the union very closely. That's where I learned the lesson. I can't ask them to produce something if they don't have the tools. I can tell them, leadership, well, this is what we need to do and we're reforming the city. But if I didn't, I use the example, give them push button phones because they all still had rotary phones, how could I ever expect them to make the number of calls or to do their jobs with rotary phones? And, as there often is with big unions, there was a strike about the cost of living COLA increase. And I had to cross the picket line. I still remember my daughter was about 1 year old. And I remember I did not want to leave that morning. I don't care what mess she was making. I did not want to leave my house. It was a snowstorm. It was a cold day. And I went downtown and I was dreading this. I knew it was one of those moments in my life. I had never crossed a picket line before. I was, now a very new manager. It had been for 4 years. And I didn't know what to do. And I just kept on walking. They say, pray with your feet. So the whole way there, I'm like, God, inspire me. What should I do? I called City Hall. They gave me some advice. But what's interesting is when I walked in front of the building and I saw the picket line, I knew exactly what to do. I stopped. I said, good morning. I said, hello. I'm sorry we're in this confrontation. I hope you guys get what you want, you deserve, but we still have things to do here. And, if it gets really cold, let me know and I'll send you down some coffee. And I hope you all have a nice day. Said hello, all that, and walked upstairs. What a sigh of relief, right? It comes from that value of treat people the way you want to be treated. Don't be hard, walk by, really say, hey, I'm human, you're human. Whatever our beef is, we can be nice to each other. That was a huge aha, but it also reminded me that I have an economic contract with my employees. I provide them money to do a job. And that's the basis of our relationship. I need the job done. It's not just about being friends or getting along and being nice. If you're not performing the job, or we have a beef about that, we need to deal with that. But as the boss, it's an economic contract that I expect you to do the job in terms for the money I pay you. Now, if I can, Jim, can I tell you one other story?
Please do.
So this happened about, I want to say 10 years ago. I, in my work, did a lot of big leadership events, always, community recognition. And we were always in rooms filled with the mayor and the governor and the speaker and, the top philanthropists and, always these very important settings. We were at a meeting. It was in the Lower East Side of Manhattan, one of our oldest districts, some of the most important elected officials. And they were honoring an older man who had created a community-based organization. Must have been 500 people in the audience. And there were a lot of speeches. And then this older man was given an award for his foresight and establishing this community council, 30 years ago. And as he was getting off the stage, there were some steps, and I could see he was struggling. There were 500 people in that audience. There were about at least 100 of us in the front tables, assemblymen, senators, important people. I just got up and walked up the steps and helped him walk down. And afterwards, everyone said to me, how did you know to do that? And I said, it was intuitive. I was paying attention. No one else in that audience moved to help that person. And I just think that that's a really important story about remembering who you are and why you got into this. I got into this to help individuals. I got into this to help people be independent and proud. And no matter how important you get, no matter who you're sitting next to, the governor, the mayor, the assembly speaker, it is about the individuals and making sure that you come with your joy and who you are to everything you do.
I love you sharing that. And I think that's a really, important message for us to be able to carry forward and have that resilience and always bring that joy. That's hard to do, especially when we have a lot of pressures both inside and outside, but bring your joy.
You have to. It's just, most of us have careers that have blended our work and our lives. So our personal lives are a big part of our professional life, and our professional life is a big part of our work life. And if you don't bring the joy, what are you doing? If you're not loving who you are and how you do it, do something else, I always say.
So when you start thinking about, a lot of the things, and like I said, we've chatted off mic about, some of the things that you're working on and the different ways that you work with organizations. Of course, you have this book, and you talked about, doing, speaking and, coaching and consult, a lot of different things. But when you think about all of that, what's one of your goals?
So one of my goals is to really build middle management levels. They are always under-resourced and under-trained. I really want to be the go-to girl or the go-to person for workplace conundrums. I have a problem, the Dear Abby of the workplace for our generation. That's what I'm really working towards. I think that it's gotten very complicated with cell phones and social media and websites and webinars and everything we can do. And I think there are certain places that people have that question for HR or can ask it about, if they're in a professional association. But I think that what I've learned and why I wrote the book was it's not once your employees are moral, ethical, and competent, so you're not talking about managing them out. It's really about the soft relationship issues, like you said, that are really hard as a leader. It's not always clear cut. And that's why I wrote the book, because it's not those things that are in your face, your budget crisis, your CFO is stealing, your team isn't producing. It's always the fact of, why, after I meet with that person, do I always feel like I want to do nothing else the rest of the day? Why do they drain my energy? Or why isn't my team producing those kind of results around the table? Why do we get to a point and the discussion doesn't progress? Those are the hard issues. So I really want to provide a forum to really help people through those relationship issues.
And the Fast Leader Legion wishes you the very best. Now, before we move on, let's get a quick word from our sponsor. An Even Better Place to Work is an easy-to-use solution that gives you a continuous diagnostic on employee engagement along with integrated activities that will improve employee engagement and leadership skills in everyone. Using this award-winning solution is guaranteed to create motivated, productive, and loyal employees who have great work relationships with their colleagues and your customers. To learn more about An Even Better Place to Work, visit beyondmorale.com/better. All right, here we go, Fast Leader Legion. It's time for the Hump Day Hoedown. Okay, Ilene, the Hump Day Hoedown is a part of our show where you give us good insights fast. So I'm going to ask you several questions, and your job is to give us robust yet rapid responses that are going to help us move onward and upward faster. Ilene Marcus, are you ready to hoedown?
I am hoedown.
All right. So what do you think is holding you back from being an even better leader today?
I think I need to be more magician and less mule. I seem to focus on the operations. I want to focus on the magic.
What is the best leadership advice you have ever received?
Hoedown, hands down. That's Rudy Giuliani when he appointed me to go over and be a manager. And he said, Ilene, 10,000 people or 10 people, set the goals, watch the steps, and bring your team along. That's all you have to do.
What is one of your secrets that you believe contributes to your success?
I'm a forest and a trees person. I can see, the break room, the trenches, but I can also see the 10,000 foot view of how it fits in. So those two things together, it just comes together, and I can see all the operational problems of the strategy and all the strategy problems with the operation.
What do you feel is one of your best tools that helps you lead in business or life?
You picked it out. It's boundaries. This is my dance space. That's yours. Let's stay in our lanes. Let's be clear about our roles, and let's move forward.
What would be one book that you'd recommend to our Legion? And it could be from any genre. Of course, we're going to put a link to Managing Annoying People, 7 Proven Tactics to Maximize Team Performance on your show notes page as well.
Thank you. Of course, it would be my book, but I'm going to go with The Carrot Seed. It's about a little boy who planted a seed and watered it every day, and his mother said it wouldn't grow, and his father said it wouldn't grow, and his neighbor said, and the postman said it wouldn't grow. But the little boy kept tending to his seed every day, and what do you think happened? He grew a big carrot. So you have got to believe in your ideas, especially as a leader. You've got to look at outside evidence and reality, but if you don't believe in them, no one is going to.
Okay, Fast Leader listeners, you can find links to that and other bonus information from today's show by going to fastleader.net/Ilene Marcus. Okay, Ilene, this is my last Hump Day Head-On question. Imagine you were given the opportunity to go back to the age of 25, and you've been given the opportunity to take the knowledge and skills that you have now back with you, but you can't take everything back. You can only choose one. So what skill or piece of knowledge would you take back with you, and why?
I would take back the knowledge that there are always options. If plan A doesn't work, there are 25 more letters. And my new line is, and there are more alphabets too. So I think when you're young and you're starting, you think, if this doesn't work, if it isn't this job, if it isn't this product, if it isn't this promotion, that's all there is. There are always options, and it's our job to find them and make them work.
Ilene, it was an honor to spend time with you today. Can you please share with the Fast Leader Legion how they can connect with you?
Please, you can connect with me at on Twitter at Talkism, TALKISM. You can connect with me on managingannoyingpeople.com, and you can always email me at Ilene@alignedworkplace.com.
Ilene Marcus, thank you for sharing your knowledge and wisdom. The Fast Leader Legion honors you and thanks you for helping us get over the hump. Thank you for joining me on the Fast Leader Show today. For recaps, links from every show, special offers, and access to download and subscribe, if you haven't already, head on over to fastleader.net so we can help you move onward and upward faster.